Hey, Soul Surfers, welcome to Waves of Consciousness with My Spiritual Ocean. My name is Alicia, and this is the very first episode of this podcast. I'm so excited to dive into our most authentic selves and live life limitlessly together. Today, we are going to ride the Law of Assumption wave, where I tell you 10 things you need to know about manifesting and the Law of Assumption. So let's go ahead and dive on in. Okay, first of all, what if I told you that you're a master manifester and that you were born that way? And that you are already manifesting 24/7. Would you believe me? Well, the choice is always up to you what you decide to believe. But by choosing not to believe it, you'll likely continue to stay in a pattern of giving your power away to people, circumstances, and other external factors. And that's going to leave you feeling powerless, unfulfilled, and as if things are happening to you. But by choosing to believe it, you take your power back and you take back control of your life. And you begin changing your unfavorable circumstances and situations or people just by changing your patterns of thinking and being. And as you begin to change these patterns, you begin to shift into a new version of you, and everything you had once found yourself only hoping for begins to materialize or manifest into your physical experience. So, if you're willing to take full responsibility and control of your life and let go of disempowering belief systems that keep you feeling stuck, stagnant, and in repeated cycles of unfavorable outcomes or pain or however you identify it, then these 10 things are really going to help you. So, without further ado, let's get into manifestation must know number 1, which is you are the operant power of your reality. So, the law of assumption states that your dominant state of being, which includes your thoughts and assumptions and behaviors, is the cause of your 3D reality experience. So, you have manifested everything in your adult life up until now without even realizing it, usually. A question that I can get asked sometimes is, does that mean we manifested the bad experiences in our life? And the short answer is yes. However, it's really important to know that you did not manifest your childhood experience. However, your childhood experience has a direct impact on the things that you believe and experience in your adult life. This does not mean you deserved any of the bad things that happened to you or that what happened to you is your fault. It simply means there's a dominant subconscious story causing your experiences, and until those dominant thoughts and assumptions are changed, you're likely to continue to manifest same or similar situations or outcomes to support that belief system. So in your adult life, your programming from childhood is affecting how you're viewing the world, what you believe to be true about yourself, others, and different areas of life as well. So where do we get our dominant subconscious story from? It can be from your parents, it can be from peers, it can be teachers, media, social media. We get it from songs and things like that. So there's a lot of programming going on. So essentially between the ages of 0 and 7, you are a subconscious sponge. You are just sponging in the beliefs of other people. You don't have the full formation of your mind to make decisions to accept or reject different beliefs. So everybody internalizes things differently depending on experiences, what we internalized, and the beliefs we internalized about ourselves and life in childhood is what we're taking forward with us into our adult experiences. So while you're not responsible for the programming you received prior to your conscious mind developing, you do have the responsibility and the power to shift this programming. This means you have the power to shift to more desirable circumstances at any time by reprogramming any unfavorable subconscious beliefs through your conscious thoughts and actions. And this is going to move us into manifestation must know number 2, which is there is no one to change but self. Many people were very conditioned to live in survival or victim mode. I don't like to say victim mode. I prefer to say a disempowered state. It just feels better, but use whatever language works for you. But the truth is there's no one to change but self. Everyone is you pushed out, and we'll talk about that topic a little bit later in this. So when you blame your circumstances or other people for the things that have happened to you, you give your power away and you spend your energy focusing on more of what you don't want, which is what you will continue to experience and manifest into your life. So since there is no one to change but self, this makes self-concept essentially the most important piece of conscious manifestation. And self-concept is a whole other topic for another episode. But in general, self concept is how you view yourself in relation to your manifestation, as well as how you view your manifestation in relation to you. For example, if you're manifesting the love of your life, how do you view yourself in relation to love in general? Do you view yourself as wanted, chosen, a priority, or do you view yourself as unwanted, unlovable, or unloved, or always left and abandoned? That's going to tell you your self concept. Another aspect of self concept is how you view yourself in relation to specific people. So, what stories are you telling yourself in relation to those specific people? Once you identify your self concept in different areas of life and even in relation to specific people, you can start to shift that story and affirm against the unfavorable assumptions about yourself, others, and life so you can experience something different. And you may have different self concepts in different areas of life. So, for example, you may have a very strong self concept in relation to finances while having a negative or poor self concept in relation to love and relationships. And now, on to manifestation must know number 3, which is persistence is key. So, are you willing to believe that your desired reality is possible? If you don't have the willingness to believe that, then you're kind of in a bind because your mind is automatically going to search for reasons why you cannot have the experience that you desire to have. Now, before you can start going where you want to go, you have to be clear of where you are going in the first place. So get clear on what it is that you desire to experience. If you don't know exactly what you want to experience, just keep things general. So you can say something like, I want to experience unconditional love, even if you don't know what that looks like just yet. Or I want to experience financial freedom, even if you don't know what that looks like just yet. And as you continue in this experience, the clarity is naturally going to present itself as long as you're open to receiving it. Once you've established what it is you want to experience, it's time to start aligning your dominant thoughts, assumptions, and behaviors to the version of yourself that's already living in that reality. Because in spiritual truth, there is a version of you that is already living that. Otherwise, you wouldn't desire what you desire. So, how do we do this? Well, we do this by continuing to choose thoughts that imply you have your desire and choosing behaviors that are consistent with the version of you that already has that desire, and you persist until it feels natural to think and act that way. Some call this fake it till you make it. I don't like saying fake it till you make it because if you're saying you're faking it, your mind is knowing that it's fake. So you're persisting, you're continuing to do it until it feels natural. And maybe I'll have to come up with some kind of a phrase, catchphrase, like that's like fake it till you make it, but it's more in alignment with, persist and I don't know. I'll have to come up with something. So, as you begin to think thoughts and choose actions that are in alignment with the version of yourself that is already experiencing that which you desire, your feelings will start to shift. You'll feel this internal shift within before seeing changes on the outside. Now, that doesn't mean that your experience can't change prior to an internal shift, but typically people notice an internal shift before things start to change externally. The more that you feel it real by choosing these thoughts, assumptions, and behaviors that your desired version would think and do when it has its desire, the more natural this state becomes to you and the faster your reality will conform to your new state of being. And now we move forward to manifestation must know number 4. Allowing your emotions is necessary. Some people may disagree with this. However, I think this is a really big key in shifting your self-concept and shifting your dominant state of being to allow and honor all of your emotions. So as you shift your belief systems, there are likely going to be times where emotions come up to be processed and released. And this is especially true if you experienced any type of trauma or traumatic events in your childhood or any other time during your life where you suppressed those emotions or weren't able to fully process them or didn't have the tools at the time to do that. So the only way out of these emotions is to release them. There's a very popular saying, what you resist persists. So it's important to validate these emotions as they arise and allow them to be felt and released. And this is the process that I have found most beneficial in releasing my emotions that I learned along my journey and my path. So the first thing I do is I stay with the feeling and I validate it. So that can look like saying it's safe for you to feel this way, or you can say it's safe for me to feel this way. Either one works. Why wouldn't you feel this way when you've experienced what you have? And even though you feel this way right now, I still love and accept you. That is my favorite one. I just really love it. It feels really good to say. Then, when the feeling has passed, I identify the old story or belief causing the feeling. So, this isn't always possible. Sometimes we don't know what the belief is underneath it. A way that you can do this is ask yourself, why did this bother me? Some common old story identity limiting beliefs that I see in people are I am not good enough, things never work out for me, this isn't meant for me. Those are all limitations, okay? Then once you identify that story, you can tell yourself, but that's not true, and I'm willing to release that old belief or story. And again, use language that feels natural in a way you would speak. There's no exact perfect affirmation. It's really important to do what feels good for you and feels natural for you in terms of manner of speaking. And then after that, I shift to my new story by telling myself, this is the truth. This is the new story, and I affirm against or basically implant my new belief that I want to be true. And this is extremely powerful when done in a mirror. Mirror work is there's something about it. If you haven't tried it, look yourself in the eyes in the mirror and say really nice things to yourself. And if you feel uncomfortable, that's totally normal and natural. It may bring up emotion, validate that, okay, but give it a shot. It's really powerful, and it does become a lot easier as you practice doing mirror work as well. I call this whole method, I call it the validate and shift method. I did add another piece to it called it's regulate, validate, and shift, because nervous system regulation I think is very, very important. And when you process and allow these emotions, you are regulating your nervous system. There are nervous system regulation techniques you can try. That can be for another episode, because nervous system regulation is its own ball game as well. The most important thing to remember, I think, here is that you don't need to feel happy all the time to manifest something. And that's a common misconception in the manifestation community, that you have to be high vibe in order to get what you want. I don't believe that's true at all. I think the more that you validate and release your emotions and then shift the story of you, the more natural it feels to believe that your manifestation can come into fruition. And also, nothing can stop your manifestation from coming unless you decide it can. Remember, this is the law of assumption. So if you assume anything can stop or delay your manifestation, then that will be true for you. You will experience that. So, feeling negative emotions doesn't mean your manifestation's not coming. What's most important are the thoughts you're thinking while you're feeling those emotions. So, I see a lot of people when they are feeling their emotions. This is how I used to be too. I noticed that as I was feeling those negative emotions, I would be running the story of, I never get what I want. This always happens to me. I feel this way, so I'm being punished. And those are just not true at all. And when you kind of look back, you can usually see where those assumptions stemmed from or why you might believe that. Again, topics for other days. But become aware of how you're talking about your emotions and the story you're running as you are going through an emotional experience. And moving forward, manifestation must know number 5, the 3D reality is an illusion. So, how often have you heard be realistic? What people typically mean by that is to accept our experiences as cold, hard fact and truth. We are conditioned to believe that the 3D reality in front of us is truth and unchangeable, which is why we get stuck in cycles of continuing to have the same experiences over and over again. The more we accept the 3D reality is unchangeable, the more we ingrain our beliefs into our subconscious and convince ourselves we are powerless over our circumstances. So the 3D reality, which is the reality that you're experiencing with your 5 senses. So it's what you can see, taste, touch, smell, hear. Did I say hear already? If I said it twice, maybe it needed to be said twice. It's simply a projection of your past thinking and state of being. This is the experience your subconscious has pushed out into your reality for you to experience because it feels true to the subconscious mind. So this is why it's completely futile to try to change things in the physical reality through forced action, because it's your thoughts, whether they're conscious or unconscious, that are causing your reality, your thoughts and your actions and choices, and how you're responding or reacting to what's going on around you. What this means is that you can change your circumstances and experiences by faithfully imagining the reality you desire to experience and thinking thoughts in line with the desired version of yourself that's already experiencing that reality. And you might be like, imagining? What? That's wishful thinking. That's daydreaming or whatever it is. Everything starts in imagination. If you look out into the space that you're in right now, so I see a printer in front of me. That printer is here because somebody imagined it. They had a thought. They wanted to change something. They wanted to make something easier. So they had that thought, imagined it, and whether or not you're actively sitting and visualizing and imagining, or you're just thinking, I really could use this, and then starting to see life or envision life and the value that that thing can bring into life, it all started in imagination. And this is another kind of deep level concept, but that is that time is an illusion. Time doesn't exist. That can also be another topic for another day. Everything is happening right now. That's why when you're experiencing circumstances that feel like a pattern, or you feel like you're in the same situation just with different components to it, it's based on past experiences usually, and it feels like a past experience replaying out. Oftentimes I hear in the manifestation community to ignore the 3D. However, I find that the ability to ignore the 3D is just a natural byproduct of living in the state of the wish fulfilled. This is how I feel about it, and this is how I handle it. So if anything in your 3D reality triggers you, do not ignore it. Most of the time, the reason that we're in the situations that we're in, or the repeated patterns that we find ourselves in, is because we're ignoring something within ourselves already. So that in itself is a pattern that is usually playing out. So don't ignore your triggers. When you're feeling triggered, it usually means that there's a belief that is still really active within you that's causing this experience and causing this trigger of emotion, or whatever it is you may be feeling. So simply use the 3D experience as feedback and change the belief system within that's being triggered by the circumstances that you're in, or by the other person, or by whatever it is that's causing this trigger. And as you continue to do this, you will naturally feel the shift within, and your desired reality will unfold before you. Moving on to manifestation must know number 6, give everything good meaning. Everything in life is neutral except for the meaning you give it. For example, in spiritual truth, a penny is the same as $1 million, because the penny or $1 million, they don't have any defined value or meaning until it's been given a meaning by somebody. And it's the meaning that you've placed on the penny or the $1 million that makes one more valuable than the other. And this is why $500 could be viewed as a lot of money by some people and not very much money as another person. It's all about the meaning and the value that it is in their life. So under the law, this means there are no good or bad experiences. The mind is just a computer. It has no stake in what it's projecting out. Your subconscious mind just takes information, and whatever it accepts as true, it's like, okay, we're going to run with this. And it brings it out into your experience. So whatever it is that you're dominantly feeding your subconscious mind through your conscious thoughts and actions, that's what's going to manifest. And you are the one determining whether the circumstances in your life are good or bad. And this is, again, why different people can perceive things different way, even if it's the exact same facts of what's happening. Depending what it means to each person, that's the meaning they're going to put onto it, whether it's good or bad. So as you start to shift your dominant thinking and your belief systems and become more aware of things around you, you're likely going to have feelings that things are getting worse. If you find yourself in these scenarios where you feel like things are getting worse, I find it's really best to affirm things are always working out for me, even if it doesn't look like it. You can even say, this is the bridge of incidents to my manifestation. And I don't even think so much that things are getting worse so much as now there's awareness about how not so great things have been all along. You're just now aware of what you may have been numbed out to in the past, or just running on autopilot with in the past. And this is also a time to become more mindful and conscious of the story that you have been telling of yourself and about yourself throughout your life. As a general rule, always assume stories that are in your favor, no matter what's going on. On to manifestation must know number 7, circumstances don't matter. A circumstance is anything you view as an obstacle or a block that's keeping you from experiencing your manifestation in your current 3D reality. When you take back your power and stop blaming the external world for your circumstances, that's when your circumstances can change. So, some examples of circumstances include, but are definitely not limited to, distance, physical or emotional, between you and a specific person, being blocked or in no contact with a specific person, third parties, which can be another person, work, addiction. I mean, really, it's anything that you view as an obstacle to you having the things that you want. Not yet knowing somebody personally, or lack of money. Those are all examples of circumstances. And too often people view circumstances as the cause, when really the circumstances are the effect of their thoughts and assumptions and their actions as well. So take a look at your current circumstances, where you're at right now, and really be honest with yourself. This process takes a lot of deep honesty. Have you had thoughts that the things that are happening to you would happen? Do you see any repeating patterns playing out? Patterns are the strongest evidence of an unconscious belief you're holding. And when you're going through these patterns, when you bring awareness to the pattern, that's when you can change it. As a reminder, nothing and no one except for you can stop you from getting your manifestation. If you persist with your new way of thinking and being that is in alignment with you having your desire, it must manifest, as you will transform into the version of yourself that has it, and any perceived obstacles will disappear. Now remember, a circumstance can only be an obstacle if you believe it to be. So keep focusing on the desired outcome and watch your situation change, and any circumstance you consider to be obstacles disappear from your reality. Next is manifestation must know. Number 8, limited action is necessary. So there's really limited action required on your part when it comes to conscious manifestation. And those actions are to, 1, live in the end in your imagination. Number 2, think thoughts and make choices in alignment with the version of you that's experiencing your desire now. And number 3, allow your manifestation to come to you. Allowing as an action seems paradoxical because it's really an action of inaction, but it really is that simple. Although, if you're somebody who has been conditioned to be highly productive and resting and allowing things to happen, it's not something you're used to. The action of inaction can feel quite challenging a challenging skill to learn. I'll say it that way. As you're focusing on your desired end and your thoughts and behaviors are aligning with that, then everything in your reality shifts to conform to that, even if you don't see a physical manifestation of it right away. And as a result, anything that doesn't go along with that is going to be brought up for you to look at and to shift or release. And as you allow and accept your thoughts and feelings and change the story associated with them, the more you will master your mind to work in your favor. And next, I want to look at 2 types of action most commonly talked about when it comes to conscious manifestation, and that's forced action and inspired action. So forced action comes from a place of fear and a mindset of, if I don't do this, then I'm not going to get what I want. So this directly contradicts the knowing that what you desire is already yours and allowing yourself to have it. Remember, the 3D is a manifestation of old thoughts and assumptions. So taking action to manipulate the 3D is kind of pointless. It may get you what you want in the short term, but it often isn't sustainable because you haven't changed the core belief that's causing the experience. Now, on the other hand, there's inspired action, and this is action that you take on a whim, and most of the time you don't even realize the action was inspired until after you've taken the action and then see how it played into the unfolding of your manifestation. So those are the 2 different types of action most commonly talked about. Next, manifestation must know number 9. This is a hot topic, and that is free will does not exist. Actually, free will does exist, but you are the only one with free will in your reality because you're the only person who is thinking in your reality. You're the only person giving meaning to everything that's going on. Everyone else in your reality is only reflecting your dominant thinking and assumptions about yourself, them, and different areas of life back to you. That's the only thing they can do. Everything is you. Everyone is you pushed out. They are reflecting you in some sort of manner. So, this is why you may tend to experience the same situations over and over. So, think again like same person with a different face. Like at the core and the behaviors are the same, but they just look different than someone. And that's because until you change your dominant subconscious programming through your conscious thinking and actions, you're going to continue to have the dominant core beliefs reflected back to you in different ways. This also means you have the power to change how people show up in your reality. Not only do you change your self concept related to the area of life they relate to, but you can change the story you hold of them directly. But it is most important to change your concept of yourself first because everything is only reflecting what is going on within you. So you can change and experience different versions of people, but unless you change your concept of yourself with regard to whether you are worthy or deserving of the manifestation isn't going to be sustained, and you're likely going to experience the manifestation come in and out of your life, or you may experience ghosting or hot and cold behavior from specific people because they're reflecting back maybe inconsistency in your thinking and being or the story you hold of them. So, moral of the story, change yourself internally first and just have such unwavering confidence in yourself that your manifestation has no choice but to stay for good. I mean, you're all that in a bag of chips. Not to go back to the 90s, but I do love the 90s. So, I don't know what the new current version of that saying would be, but yeah, why wouldn't your manifestation want you? Why? You're so wonderful and amazing. It has to show up. It has to say you are awesome. That's it, period. All right, and last but not least, we have manifestation must know number 10, which is you do not have to let go of your desire. Another hot topic. Well, it's not so much that it's a hot topic. I think that the way that it's taught is very different, and the understanding of it is very different. There's a common misconception that letting go means that you have to stop thinking about your desire and leave it up to the universe to decide if it's meant for you to have or if or when you're worthy and deserving of having it. And when you believe that, it's you giving your power away because you have to remember who you are. You are the creator. You are the universe. So you get to decide what is meant for you. There's nothing outside of you deciding that for you unless you think there is. Again, law of assumption. If you assume something is deciding what you get to have, you will experience that. So if you have a desire, it is meant for you. Otherwise, you would not desire it. Now let's talk about what letting go actually means. And what that is it's letting go of the old version of yourself that doesn't have what they want. It's letting go of your old self-concept. It's letting go of old behaviors and the same actions and reactions you've had in the past. It's letting go of patterns of unfavorable thinking. That's what letting go is. It's letting go of the doubts, fears, beliefs, and behavior patterns that are causing your inability to experience your desire in your 3D reality right now. Now, in my experience, letting go is not something you can force. In fact, the more you try to force it, the more challenging it's likely going to feel because what you resist persists. Letting go is a natural happening. It happens naturally as your subconscious feels safe to let go of the beliefs you carry that once kept you protected, safe, and alive throughout your life. As you continue to think and behave from the state of the wish fulfilled, naturally you may think less and less of your desire because your mind feels that it already has it and it's experiencing that desire now. Because in actuality, it was never about the fact that you were thinking about your desire that caused it not to be experienced in physical form. It's always been about how you were thinking about it. And if you're really, really honest with yourself, you'll see how unfavorable thoughts around your desire led to unfavorable outcomes in the past. So Now, what I want you to think about is when you think of your desire, do you think of it favorably or unfavorably? And you'll want to retrain your mind to start thinking of your desire favorably. And that is a process in itself. All of this, most of what I've talked about is a process. Most of what's talked about in the manifestation community is a process. So be gentle with yourself and know that you are learning new skills. You're learning new ways of thinking and being. Those are the 10 manifestation must-knows regarding the law of assumption. Thank you so much for joining me in this episode. If you're interested in a hard copy of this information, you can go to www.myspiritualocean.com, and under the link that says ebooks, there is one called Manifestation Must Knows, and you can download it there and have access to this information. There's also a list of helpful affirmations at the end of it that you can use as well. That's all we have for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will catch you all on the next wave.